And then in a minute, as soon as it starts live streaming, then you'll make him the host. Okay, you can go ahead and start. Personally, I wouldn't touch anything on this and just let it do its thing, and then
I just want to go to the other app.
Yeah.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Gurudas Jayadvaita Swami Niti Namane. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Kauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramamsa Parivrajikacharya Shtottara Shata Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramamsa Parivrajikacharya Shtottara Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Ko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyamkund Radhakund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Online Srimad Bhagavatam class Sangha Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Nitai Gaura Premalandi Hari Hari Bo. Welcome one and all to our wonderful online Sangha studying Srimad Bhagavatam. We're continuing our study of the fourth canto. Let's see, this is Canto 4, Chapter 7, beginning with text 16. It is 1 p.m. in Honolulu, Hawaii, October 25th, and we welcome all comments and discussion. It doesn't look as though Maharaj is here with us, but we have friends. So let us begin. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Maitre Uvacha Kshamapyaivam Samidvangsam Brahmana Chanumantritaha Karma Santanayamasa Sopadhyayartvig Adibihi. The great sage Maitreya said, thus being pardoned by Lord Shiva, King Daksha, with the permission of Lord Brahma, again began the performance of the yajna, along with the great learned sages, the priests, and others. Vaishnavam yajna santatyai trikapalam dvijottama purodasam niravipan vira sangsarga shuddhai. Thereafter, in order to resume the activities of sacrifice, the Brahmanas first arranged to purify the sacrificial arena of the contamination caused by the touch of Virabhadra and the other ghostly followers of Lord Shiva. Then they arranged to offer into the fire the oblations known as Purodas. Lord Shiva's followers and devotees, headed by Virabhadra, are known as Viras, and they are ghostly demons. Not only did they pollute the entire sacrificial arena by their very presence, but they disturbed the whole situation by passing stool and urine. Therefore, the infection they had created was to be first purified by the method of offering Pururasha oblations. A Vishnu yagya, or an offering to Lord Vishnu, cannot be performed uncleanly. To offer anything in an unclean state is called a seva parada. The worship of the Vishnu deity in the temple is also Vishnu yagya. In all Vishnu temples, therefore, the priest who takes care of the archana vidhi must be very clean. Everything should be always kept neat and clean, and the foodstuffs should be prepared in a neat and clean manner. All these regulative principles are described in the Nectar of Devotion. There are 32 kinds of offenses in discharging archana service. It is required, therefore, that one be extremely careful not to be unclean. Generally, whenever any ritualistic ceremony is begun, the holy name of Lord Vishnu is first chanted in order to purify the situation. Whether one is in a pure or impure condition, internally or externally, if one chants or even remembers the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, one immediately becomes purified. The Yagya arena was desecrated by the presence of Lord Shiva's followers, headed by Virabhadra, and therefore the entire arena had to be sanctified. Although Lord Shiva was present and he is all auspicious, it was still necessary to sanctify the place because his followers had broken into the arena and committed so many obnoxious acts. That sanctification was possible only by chanting the holy name of Vishnu. Trikapala, which can sanctify the three worlds, in other words, that sanctification was possible only by chanting the holy name of Vishnu, Trikapala, which can sanctify the three worlds. In other words, it is admitted herein that the followers of Lord Shiva are generally unclean. They are not even very hygienic. They do not take baths regularly. They wear long hair and they smoke ganja. Persons of such irregular habits are counted among the ghosts. Since they were present in the sacrificial arena, the atmosphere became polluted and it had to be sanctified by Trikapala oblations, which indicated the invocation of Vishnu's favor. I'm trying to recall the word that was used previously. It was something like Tapa Sabhyam, something that described, sorry, I've got a crying baby here, but my wife is coming to grab him. It was something along those lines in which it was describing the followers of Lord Shiva imitating his behavior to some extent, unhygienic, not taking a bath, wearing unclean things. And in this way, the yagya cannot take place. It may be all right for Lord Shiva, but it's not all right for those who are performing Vishnu yagya. And Srila Prabhupada highlights the purificatory power of the holy name. The holy names of Lord Vishnu are a benediction to those of us in Kali Yuga who by nature aren't clean, internally or externally. We attempt to the best of our ability to perform archana vidhi in a clean state, and therefore only those who are Brahmanically initiated can go on the altar, because theoretically they understand the proper cleanliness standards. And actually, interestingly, these 32 offenses, we read them just last night. Just coincidentally, my wife, she wanted to see a list of all the offenses. We were discussing them. So actually, we read through all 32 of those just last night. So it was kind of interesting to see that in the purport today. But in a previous age, we had these opportunities, or human beings had these opportunities to perform great austerities, to perform meditation, to perform yagyas, to perform, what's the third one? Meditation, yagya, and maybe archana, maybe is the third one.
No, don't say.
What is it?
Archana.
Archana.
No, it's right. Archana.
But in Kali Yuga, we don't have these capabilities. So here we are with the greatest fortune to be able to chant the holy names of the Lord and thus become purified. What a great opportunity. It seems like we have so many disadvantages, but this one advantage is the ultimate illuminating principle that actually outweighs and dispels the shadow of any other disadvantage. Kalir dosha nidhirajan. It's an ocean of faults, but it gives us this opportunity to become supremely uplifted. Otherwise, in the purport, it was also mentioned that they're all called the Viras. I imagine that this is because they're following the lead of Virabhadra. Vira, very powerful. I remember in a class by His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, I was in Chaupati, and he has a very dramatic narrating style. He actually told this whole story. This about 10 years ago, but I remember it very vividly. And there was one section in which Virabhadra is finally ripping apart the demigod warriors, the Ribus. And Maharaj paused and he just shook his head. He said, "Poor little Ribus." That line always stuck with me. Poor little Ribus. So what is the prowess? What is the power of anyone against such a formidable opponent as Virabhadra? So in spite of this external lack of cleanliness qualities, they were very powerful, and they were able to desecrate and destroy the yajna. But now that the yajna is about to commence once more, it became necessary to purify the area, and so that's being undertaken by those Brahmanically qualified. Any comments or further discussion at this point? Are there any volunteers to read next? I can call on people, but I thought I might hazard a invitation to somebody who has the capability to continue. Who are our common readers? Venkatesh Prabhu, Saraswati Devi, Shara, if you're available. Nobody. All right. Well, I'm going to continue reading, but please jump in. All right. Venkatesh Prabhu needs a few minutes. If anybody else feels inspired, please mention it in the chat box or just go ahead and unmute yourself and jump right in.
I don't mind reading, but it's really nice to hear you read too. So
no, go for it, Shara. We'd love to hear you read, and if you have anything to comment, you're welcome to. Otherwise, just reading is so nice. So
okay.
We're with text 18, 4:17.
We're on 17 or 18?
18.
18. Okay. Advaryunata havisha yajamano vishampate Diya Vishudhaya Dadyao Tata Pradurabuddhari. Translation. The great sage Maitreya said to Vidura, "My dear Vidura, as soon as King Daksha offered the clarified butter with Yajurveda mantras in sanctified meditation, Lord Vishnu appeared there in his original form as Narayan." Purport. Lord Vishnu is all-pervading. Any devotee who, in sanctified meditation, following the regulated principles, chants the required mantras in service and in a devotional mood, can see Vishnu. It is said in the Brahma Samhita that a devotee whose eyes are anointed with the ointment of love of Godhead can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead always within his heart. Lord Shyamasundar is so kind to his devotee. I don't really have any comment.
I was thinking, let's see. There was a word here. Havisha, with clarified butter. Brahma Havir, Brahmagna, Brahmana Hutam. This clarified butter, my father-in-law is named Havi Prabhu. And so I was just thinking these various instruments of yajna are being pulled out by Yajamana, the officiator of the sacrifice. Daksha, he's once again been reinstated and he's pulling out the paraphernalia. Would you like to continue, read the next verse?
Sure. Tada sva prabhaya tesham dyotayantya disho dasha mushnam steja upanitas tarkshyena stotra vajinya. Translation. Lord Narayan was seated on the shoulder of Stotra, or Garuda, who had big wings. As soon as the Lord appeared, all directions were illuminated, diminishing the luster of Brahma and the others present. Purport. A description of Narayan is given in the following 2 shlokas.
I am going to pull out my Kindle in a moment here just to make sure we're not missing some nice input by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. But this was new information for me. If you look in the word for words, the wings of Garuda are mentioned, their names, Brihat, and let's see here, and Ratantara. And there's a beautiful verse somewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam. I know I have it in my favorite section, in which a beautiful description is given that when Garuda is flapping his wings, the Samaveda is being produced from the flapping of his wings. So as a Vaishnava, sometimes it's what is that verse? There's a very nice verse we just came upon in our local classes, in which it says that Prithu Maharaj is saying that he wants to hear from the devotees who Mukha Chuta, the words of the Supreme Lord are falling out of their mouth. Chuta, we know the Lord's name is Achyuta. He never falls. So Chuta means to fall. And so if someone is so full of Krishna consciousness, they open their mouth and Krishna falls out. It's just they're filled to the brim with Krishna conscious topics. And so an exalted Vaishnava like Garuda is such a Vaishnava that his every movement is producing transcendental sound. So even the beating of his wings, Chuta, the Lord is falling from the sound vibration of his beating wings. And so we see in the word for words, Ratantara and Brahat, apparently his wings themselves have names. And I just appreciated that extra information. Please keep reading, and we'll see what more nectar we can churn from these verses. And if anybody else wants to read as well, please, we invite you to participate in that way. And I'm going to pull out my Kindle to check if we have something more from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. But in the interim, Shara, please continue.
Okay. Shyamo hiranya rashano rika kirita jasto nila laka brahmara mandita kundalashya shankabja chakrashara chapa gadashi charma vyagrar hiranmaya bujar eva karnikara. Translation. His complexion was blackish, his garment yellow like gold, and his helmet as dazzling as the sun. His hair was bluish, the color of black bees, and his face was decorated with earrings. His 8 hands held a conch shell, wheel, club, lotus flower, arrow, bow, shield, and sword, and they were decorated with golden ornaments such as bangles and bracelets. His whole body resembled a blossoming tree beautifully decorated with various kinds of flowers. Purport. The face of Lord Vishnu is described in this verse. The face of Lord Vishnu, as described in this verse, appears like a lotus flower with bees humming over it. All of the ornaments on the body of Lord Vishnu resemble molten gold of the reddish gold color of the morning sunrise. The Lord appears just as the morning sun rises to protect the whole universal creation. His arms display different weapons, and his 8 hands are compared to the 8 petals of a lotus flower. All the weapons mentioned are for the protection of his devotees. Generally, in the four hands of Vishnu, there are a wheel, club, conch shell, and lotus flower. These four symbols are seen in the four hands of Vishnu in different arrangements. The club and the wheel are the Lord's symbols of punishment for the demons and miscreants, and the lotus flower and conch shell are used to bless the devotees. There are always two classes of men, the devotees and the demons. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya Sadhunam, the Lord is always ready for the protection of the devotees and the annihilation of the demons. There are demons and devotees in this material world, but in the spiritual world, there is no such distinction. In other words, Lord Vishnu is the proprietor of both the material and spiritual worlds. In the material world, almost everyone is of the demoniac nature, but there are also devotees who appear to be in the material world, although they are always situated in the spiritual world. A devotee's position is always transcendental, and he is always protected by Lord Vishnu. Actually, nothing super deep, but in the translation, when it says his whole body resembles a blossoming tree beautifully decorated with various kinds of flowers, it kind of struck me that usually a tree only has one particular kind of flower. So this must be especially beautiful if it's a tree that has different kinds of flowers.
I like that. My father and I had a similar thought. One time in Los Angeles, we found a rose tree. It had all the thorns coming off, and so we took so many different flowers from other trees and we placed them on the thorns so that it looked like this one bush had such a variety of flowers. Just to be humorous, we did this so that whichever devotee passed next would be amazed by this wonderful, Kalpavriksha bush producing so many flowers. But that was just our imagination. And here we see this description of the Lord where it's a reality, unlimited variety. And this verse and the next verse, glorifying the Lord's appearance, it reflects the verse just preceding this, in which actually Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur did have something nice to say regarding the illuminating nature of the Lord, that he was so effulgent, so brilliant, that it diminished the effulgence of those around him. It's kind of like the glowworm is very bright and has a lot of influence in the nighttime. But in the presence of the sun, it's insignificant. And so when the Lord is present, it diminishes everybody else. One of the translations of the name Keshava given by Srila Jiva Goswami is Ka Ishava, the Supreme Lord who puts Ka, who is Lord Brahma, the first letter of the alphabet, the creator, the originator of everything, and Isha, which is Lord Shiva. Keshava, he diminishes the strength, the power. He puts down Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva by his presence. And so we're seeing in this verse and the next verse just how wonderful the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is, specifically with the various items that he's holding in his hands, capable of punishing the demons and protecting the devotees, offering benedictions and blessings, just like Dhruva Maharaj received the conch shell of the Lord. And in so many ways, the devotees are protected by the Lord. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha duskritam. But I see Guru Maharaj has joined our meeting. My obeisances, Guru Maharaj, I don't know if you when you joined or how much of this verse and purport you caught, but we'd love to hear from you if you have anything to say at this time.
I caught the whole verse.
Okay.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shamini Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurabhani Pracharane Vivishesha Shunyavali Pastrata Deshatare. It's interesting. I liked the thought that Lord Vishnu's face could be compared to a tree with various kinds of flowers. That's there in Prabhupada's translation. I don't see it in the Sanskrit. My guess is that it's sort of a well, you know the way Prabhupada sometimes phrase things, various kinds of, could just mean many. But anyway, Vishwanath's commentary on Karnikara is, he appeared like a flowering Karnikara tree, or like a lotus with 8 petals, since he was holding 8 weapons. And Karnikara is defined as that which produces a pericarp, Karnikara. Or it can be derived from Karnika, using a rule from Panini. So the picture I get is that there's one flower, perhaps a lotus flower with 8 petals, resembling the 8 forms of Lord Vishnu, and then the lotus is surrounded by bees and so on. But no harm. Lord Vishnu, what's the word, accommodates all sorts of inconceivable opposites. So we hear that in Lord Chaitanya's, when he rehabilitates a verse from Keshav Kashmiri, which appears to have faults in it. He finds some good qualities, which does have faults in it. He finds some good qualities in that everything inconceivable or even contradictory is possible in Lord Vishnu. Particularly that had to do with, again, with lotuses and the Ganga. I've forgotten exactly how the verse ran and how Lord Chaitanya favorably interpreted it. But Lord Vishnu is seen by different devotees in different ways. So, and he can accommodate that. It's not that he has to always appear the same way. Even in our paintings, we see Lord Vishnu. Sometimes he looks like this, sometimes he looks like that. Krishna sometimes looks like this, sometimes looks like that. So, which is actually Krishna? Which is actually, he can appear in so many different ways. And according to the ecstasy of the devotee, he reciprocates in different ways. So, so there you go. I guess that's the sum of my thoughts on that.
I think the lotuses grow from the water, but water doesn't grow from the lotus, but the water of the Ganges is flowing from the lotus feet of the Lord. Is that
right? And that's impossible or opposite or wrong. No, it can be accommodated because it's in relationship to Lord Vishnu. Thank you.
All right. Venkateshpu, you look like you're ready to join us with some reading. Oh, we have a comment from Saraswati Devi. Pranams Param Puja Maharaj and all the Vaishnavas. The Vishnu Tattvas are indescribably beautiful, but Krishna is the most beautiful?
Therefore, Bhagavan Swayam, who has all opulences in full. So he exceeds even Vishnu, although he is Vishnu. His beauty exceeds even that of Vishnu. He has ornaments that Lord Vishnu never has. Krishna has, he can appear with bracelets and armlets and crown and all of that, but you'll never see Lord Vishnu decorated with different kinds of clay from Govardhan Hill in funny ways with peacock feathers and leaves and so on. That kind of beauty is unavailable in Vaikuntha. And it exceeds the beauty of Lord Vishnu. It's very beautiful to see Lord Vishnu dressed in his super opulent form with the kinds of weapons described here. But when he's decorated by Yashodamai to go for the forest, or when he and his friends decorate one another in Govardhan well, herding the cows, those decorations exceed even the opulent ornaments of Vaikuntha. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Anyway, the ornaments become beautiful because of Krishna or Vishnu. And for us, we have our dead bodies and they look a little good when they're decorated with ornaments. But Krishna's Bhushan is the ornament of all ornaments, or all the ornaments appear gorgeous because they're situated on the body of Lord Krishna. We appreciate, when we see the deity, we appreciate the beautiful garlands, the beautiful ornaments. But if those same garlands or ornaments were lying in a store somewhere or in a flower shop, we wouldn't be so impressed. But when they appear on the body of the Lord, they appear gorgeous. Another Chanakya Pandit also says that the ornament of a woman is her husband. I've forgotten the Sanskrit, but he says the ornament of the sky is the moon, and the ornament there goes on like that, and the Patibhushan, the ornament of a woman is her husband. So Krishna is the ornament of Srimati Radharani. So such ornaments can't even be conceived how beautiful they are. Therefore he's called Sri Krishna, of course Sri Vishnu also. But Krishna is always with, Lord Vishnu is always with the goddess of fortune. Krishna is always with Srimati Radharani. So then he appears still more beautiful. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Saraswati Devi, for the question, and thank you, Maharaj, for that beautiful reply. Venkatesh, bro, are you ready to continue with 4721? We can't.
One note about the meter here. It's the same meter as Brahma Samhita. So your words will fit into that meter very well.
Thank you, Maharaj. Oh, for some reason we can't hear you, Venkatesh Prabhu. I don't see that you're muted, but somehow you're maybe you can do.
Yes, is it better now?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay. Actually, just for the verse Sanskrit part, could you read if that is like you are better in reading? I guess I'll read the translation and other things.
All right. 4721. Vakshasya dhishritavadhurvanamalyudara hasavaloka kalayaramayangscha vishvam parshva brahmadvyajanas chamara rajahamsa shvetata shashino parirajyamana.
Translation. Lord Vishnu looked extraordinarily beautiful because the goddess of fortune and a garland were situated on his chest. His face was beautifully decorated with a smiling attitude which can captivate the entire world, especially the devotees. Fans of white hair appeared on both sides of the Lord like white swans, and the white canopy overhead looked like the moon. Purport. The smiling face of Lord Vishnu is pleasing to the whole world. Not only devotees, but even non-devotees are attracted by such a smile. This verse nicely describes how the sun, moon, elf petal, lotus flower, and humming bees were represented by the fans of hair, the overhead canopy, the moving earrings on both sides of his face, and his blackish hair. Altogether, accompanied by the conch shell, wheel, club, lotus flower, bow, arrows, shield, and sword in his hands, these presented a grand and beautiful audience for Lord Vishnu. which captivated all the demigods there, including Daksha and Lord Brahma. Here, here it is said that Lord Vishnu's smile is very captivating, not only for devotees but also for non-devotees, for the whole entire creation. So even in general, it is etiquette that we have to smile when we meet people or we greet people. So it is very much present in the Lord as well. I'm not sure, maybe the word might be smita hasya, something like that. And this verse might describe how, yes, it's a very graphic description. It is so nice that it is just not said that he's some old man and he's up in the clouds and that's it, nothing more. But here, Bhagavatam describes everything very deeply, particularly the vision, so much that we can actually feel that, okay, Lord Vishnu is like this. There's no room for speculation how the Lord looks like. So it is very nice. And yes, he has all these items in his hands: conch shell, wheel, club, lotus flower, bow, arrows, shield, and sword in his hands. So, 8-handed form. Generally, it is 4-handed as it was mentioned in the earlier verse, but here in this case, it is 8-handed. So, it was a very grand and beautiful for the audience. Yes, and it captivated everyone, Daksha and Lord Brahma. So, amazing that this kind of a form of the Lord is available to even someone in the material world. So it shows how merciful is the Lord, that He comes all the way when some sacrifice and some rituals are performed by people in this material universe, to where they try to just please the Lord by their own abilities. And the Lord reciprocates by coming and giving his audience. So it is a great mercy, actually. If the Lord didn't come, there wouldn't be any problem, because Lord, I mean, we have people in the material world, they have actually gone against the Lord. They have been completely averse to him, but still the Lord is coming to reciprocate with all of us and the demigods. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, can I add more?
Any
There's Vishwanath's commentary. On his chest was Lakshmi, but who? He gave pleasure to the whole universe by the skill of his smiling eyes, raining jewels of sweetness, Udana. What then to speak of the sweetness those eyes give to the devotees? The fan and chamra by his sides were like two swans. Above was a white umbrella like the moon. Below that was his crown, like the sun. Beneath that was his face like a lotus. Besides his face, on both sides, were two more suns in the form of his earrings. At his sides were two swans. Below his face was Lakshmi, like lightning. Everything together was like one 8-petaled lotus. Daksha saw Vishnu, who was astonishing, with moon, sun, lightning, bees, swans, conch, chakra, club, lotus, bow, arrow, and shield. So we have this poetic description of Lord Vishnu in first canto also. I believe when Krishna enters Dwarka, similar similes are given. The Jai Gurupad, the Purusham Prabhu's son, who's an expert photographer, has a photo project which has become quite celebrated, in which he snaps a picture of a person who might look dull or even threatening, and then asks them to smile, and shoots another picture. And the whole person's whole appearance changes. A person who might have looked like a terrorist looks like a really friendly person. A girl who looks very prosaic suddenly looks attractive. So I think that it's a Facebook site and a website. If I remember, then I asked them to smile. Anyway, so Lord Vishnu, imagine, he might look a little stern or a little serious, but then when he smiles, then he becomes captivated, the whole world, and especially the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maj. And I like what you pointed out in the purport, Venkatesh Prabhu, attractive not just to the devotees, but even the non-devotees. Sometimes we can, even if it's our opponent, and I noticed this with Kshatriya Bhav. You know, you're fighting with someone, but someone's prowess is so great that you say, oh, you know, you glorify their abilities. So even the non-devotees, you know, they may want to rail against God and say what they want to say, but when he smiles, oh boy, that's a beautiful smile. I got to admit, he's beautiful. Panchatattva Prabhu, are you still driving? Are you still in transit?
Still driving, still in transit, still unfortunate.
Okay, no worries. Let's see. Well, Venkatesh Prabhu, would you like to read another one?
I have some readers here.
Oh, you have local readers. All right, yes, please, Maharaj. 22.
Hokshajo will read. And yes, you can appear.
तमुपागतमालक्ष्य सर्वे सुरगणादय प्रणेमु सहसोत्थाय ब्रह्मेन्द्रत्रयक्षनायकः. As soon as Lord Vishnu was visible, all the demigods, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, the Gandharvas and all present there, immediately offered their respectful obeisances by falling down straight before him. Purport. It appears that Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Lord even of Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. What to speak of the demigods, Gandharvas and ordinary living entities? It is stated in a prayer, Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha. All the demigods worship Lord Vishnu. Similarly, Dhyana Vastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha. Yogis concentrate their minds on the form of Lord Vishnu. Thus, Lord Vishnu is worshipable by all demigods, all Gandharvas, and even Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam Sada Pashyanti Suryaha. Vishnu is therefore the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though Lord Shiva was previously referred in prayers by Lord Brahma as the Supreme. When Lord Vishnu appeared, Shiva also fell prostrated before him to offer respectful obeisances.
Any thoughts, Akshobhya Prabhu?
So here we are seeing that all the demigods, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, as soon as they saw Lord Vishnu, so they paid their respectful obeisances, and from this first point we can get is like how Vishnu's position is superior to even the demigods' position. Even Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, they are paying obeisances. So we see in India, especially, people are often confused who is the supreme. Maybe all three of them, they are equal, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. But if we read scripture, then it is clearly mentioned, there are incidents with which it is very clear that Lord Vishnu is the supreme personality of Godhead. And another thing I noted is like how they immediately offered their respectful obeisances to by falling down straight before him. So I mean, we can learn some culture from this, how superiors, when we see, like we should immediately pay obeisances, we should pay our respects to them. So although even Lord Shiva, as great person as Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, they are also paying respectful obeisances to Vishnu. I've seen like in India, even in India, and who know that Krishna is the supreme, and when they visit temple, so they just sometimes wave their hand towards Krishna like this also, and then they don't pay obeisances. And sometimes I bring my friends with to temple, then they also feel shy to pay obeisances to Krishna because they feel that they don't feel good about it. But we can learn from these exalted personalities. They also know what is the glory of paying obeisances to Lord Vishnu. They are paying obeisances to Lord Vishnu. So these 2 points I just want to add. Thank you.
Note that they didn't take out their phones to take pictures.
Yes.
Say nothing of selfies or videos. Now people have become so, what would we say, influenced by modern notions that they come to the temple and their priority is to have a photo with the deity or a photo of themselves and their family with the deity. And whether they offer obeisances to the deity or not is less important. The main thing is the photo. As soon as they meet a devotee or sannyasi, their priority is not to get some upadesha, some instruction. The priority is to have their photo taken. I was at a program in South Africa a week or so back, and there was a man who wanted to, he was a devotee, and he wanted to touch my feet. He wanted to like grasp my feet, and I sort of pushed him. And then later in the program, he came and wanted the same thing, but for the photo. Here I am grasping Maharaj's feet. I just know, But this is what it is now. Our Vrindavan temple is practically spoiled. And note also there's a mentality that goes with this. In proper understanding, where the object and Krishna is the subject. That is, Krishna is the person who's seen, and we're the person who's seen. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur pointed this out, that darshan doesn't just mean that we see the deity. More important, the deity sees us. We present ourselves before the deity to be seen by the Lord. But when you're the videographer or you're the photographer, then you're the subject and the deity is the object. Which is not very good. Not to say that we can't take pictures of the deities, but there's, when it's done with a certain, when it's done for the service of the Lord, then it's very much appreciated. That story is there of Vishaka Devi tells how at the opening of the Krishna Balaram temple, she managed to, she was the photographer, she managed to get herself almost to the very front before Krishna Balaram, except that the world's greatest book distributor, Tripurari Maharaj, was standing in front of her, and she gave him a nudge, and he didn't move. And she gave some other indication, and he didn't move. And then she said to him that if you stand there, you'll be able to get the best darshan of Krishna Balaram. But if I stand there, then the whole world will be able to see a Prabhupada of Krishna. If you stand there, you'll get the best view, but if I stand there. And he moved.
We have a couple of comments in the chat box. Saraswati Devi says, I remember prayers my grandmother would offer, which included an apology to Krishna, because she cannot stop staring at Krishna's beautiful face, knowing that staring continuously can be seen as impolite. She would pray that the black tilak that was applied behind Krishna's ear would sufficiently protect Krishna from her greed to just keep staring. And we have one more from Priti Purnamadhavi Devi Dasi. Lord Shiva is always meditating on the glories of the Lord. And there are multiple instances in scriptures where Lord Shiva accepts Lord Krishna in different forms as his worshipful Lord. What stops them from not seeing what is so crystal clear?
Well, various things. Sometimes their eagerness, sometimes family tradition, so that this is their way of receiving knowledge by family tradition rather than Shastra. So their vision is obscured for that reason. Sometimes they're bewildered by the pastimes of the Lord. Lord Ram worships Lord Shiva sometimes, or even Krishna sometimes worships Lord Shiva. So then they become bewildered. Bhuta Kapata Manasha. Krishna is playing like a human being, so he worships Lord Shiva. People think, oh, Lord Shiva is supreme. That, or what is that in Bhagavad Gita? Kamaistaistir Ritagana. Their knowledge is stolen away by their desire. Lord Shiva will give me this, Lord Shiva will give me that. They're so, I remember on Padayatra, we stopped in one village and we were the guests of a wealthy gentleman who owned a cinema house. And at his temple room, the main deity was a big silver deity of Ganesh. So he was worshipping Ganesh. And clearly the intention was to continue his opulent life by the grace of Ganesh. So when people, Ashutosh, Lord Shiva's quickly pleased, so people think, well, let's get on the fast lane. They'll line up to worship Lord Shiva, get quick benedictions, and they don't consider, just like people sometimes they steal because they can get money quickly. They forget that this is contrary to law, contrary to religious principles. They forget because they're overwhelmed by, wow, look at this, I can get this quick. Or they know something belongs to someone else, but they pick it up anyway. So dharma is secondary and their greed is primary. So kama is ties to hrit again, then their intelligence is taken away by their material desires. So but in different ways, their vision is obscured. Or because they're just demonic, Maya, Pratigana. Krishna gives 4 reasons why people don't surrender to him. One is Maya, Pratigana, or another is Mudha, Radhava, Asuri Bhava. The Asuras worship Lord Shiva. Or simply because they're less advanced and Lord Shiva is merciful to them. So they all they see is Lord Shiva. They're not advanced enough to appreciate Lord Vishnu. But Lord Shiva's kind even to the ghosts, the hobgoblins, the demons. So even though they won't worship Lord Vishnu, still they'll worship Lord Shiva and they'll get some blessings. Vaishnava.
Thank you, Maj. We are at the top of the hour. It looks like you have an in-house band.
We do. Oh man.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacharya Stotra Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Raj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadip Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Gangamai Ki Jai, Yamunamai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled. All glories to the assembled. All glories to the assembled. Gaur Premanand.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Maj, for joining us. Thank you all for your enlivening discussion and reading. We will see you all again in a few days on Monday, Krishna willing. Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Jayadvaita Maharaj ki Jai.
Samaveta Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande.
Much.
All right. Now, how to end this meeting? I am not. Oh, I am the host. I'm so hopeless. I heard a new word the other day, tech-tard. I think that is exemplified in me. Maybe if I just click this record button.